I think I would like to open up the floor to ask a question. I would ask that you keep the question short, because we don't have a lot of time, and to address it to a particular panelist up here on the stage. There's a question right here.
Well, I'm Jory Hecht. I'm a PhD student at Tufts University in the Environmental Engineering and Water Diplomacy program, and my question is for John Briscoe, but if anybody else would like to answer it too, that would be possible. I'm wondering, in this large debate about storage and its need, especially in developing countries, I'm wondering, to what extent have off-stream reservoirs been discussed as a potential water supply solution? I mean, they are somewhat difficult to use in very large populations, but large cities in the United States have begun using them, and I'm wondering, given that they have a lot of sustainability advantages, namely that they don't trap sediment, minimal sediment trapping, they don't really block fish passage much. I'm wondering to what extent they've been discussed as a potential solution in developing countries.
Yeah, as you probably know, off-stream storage is how much of the British water system has worked for several hundred years. So have they been looked at? Absolutely, they've been looked at. I'm engaged, for example, in Pakistan now. This is a massive issue because you have floods. Can you redirect floods? Can you do groundwater recharge, do off-stream storage? So yes, they absolutely are a part of the solution. Again, everything is location specific, needs to be looked at in its context, rather than a small is good, big is bad, off is good, on is bad. Each thing has its place, and I think what your question implies is you need to have a full set of the alternatives, their pros and cons when you look at this. My perception is this is well done. I would just like to come back on one question, and I think Suresh asked Martin on this. I think there's a very interesting issue. Martin and I I'm glad Martin's still speaking to me. Every now and then he says he'll never speak to me again. But the issue with NGOs like the WWF, I think there's a very interesting difference. Gabrielle and I worked in Brazil. Brazil has a World Wildlife Fund that's autonomous, run by Brazilians about Brazil. It does an absolutely fantastic job, because the people who live in Brazil have to live with the consequences, cannot take you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that, and they're very productive. I am extremely suspicious of WWF globally. Martin and I have talked. I said I would love to see, Martin, when you say dams are okay, that you've taken down your big headline that was published in the FT and the Economist, that dams, the tombstone, Hoover Dam is the tombstone of the world. Martin says, no, that's not ours, but they never take it down. My point on governance on this is, if you were doing it, look for a good NGO where people have to live in India and live with the consequences. Don't ask GTZ to fund it. Don't ask the Germans to come in and do it. Find people who have to live with the consequences. And that, I think, is a great success story, because the countries like a Brazil, like an India, are developing their own capability of doing that doesn't have the moral hazard of people sitting a long way away and telling people how to do that. So sorry for that.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir?
My name is Frank Muramuzi. I'm from Uganda. And I would have asked the question to the minister, but she has just left. But nevertheless, I will ask Kate, the World Bank, and she knows it. You have been talking about big dams for water and energy, and you have also been saying that you don't think the small infrastructure, the small dams could provide energy and water. Has anybody, World Bank or any other, assessed how much it takes to put up a big structure, a big dam versus a small dam, water harvesting, in terms of money? For example, if you were to invest like $1 billion in water harvesting, rainwater harvesting, and you have to invest $1 billion to put up a dam, and which one would be better to provide water or energy to the communities we have experiences in Uganda? We have invested all that money. We have built dams for energy. And we have invested a lot of money, sponsored by the World Bank. And we have never got that electricity. And Kate knows it. The one for the extension, it is a failed project, supposed to produce 200 megawatts, and it produces now about 50. The Bujagari project was supposed to produce 250 megawatts. Now recently, the government said it is supposed to produce 50 megawatts, but even they never switched it onto the main grid. That is one. Two, we also the World Bank sponsor through IFAD. They sponsored to build the dams in Karamoja and other places in Uganda.